Hey guys, it's Vernon Corum here. Welcome to another episode of the Reliable Opportunity Investments Podcast. Today I'm here with my good buddy Tyrel Holman, and we've been friends for a little while, and he's in the Knoxville market here in the Smoky Mountains, and I'm excited to have him today. And who else is over there with me over there hanging out?
Oh, just your favorite sidekick.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up?
Yes, sir. Good to see you tonight, Drew. Had a good
I
week?
am super pumped to be here. Really excited about this episode. Yeah, it's been me and you talked about it. Well, we talk pretty much every day, but I know we were talking about the other day. You reach a certain level of like busy to the amount of like where you're busy, you're stressed. And then you reach that next level where you're so busy, you don't have time to be stressed. And I feel like that's where
Exactly.
we both drive. And so
Absolutely.
kind of where I'm at here lately, but I love it. So,
Yeah, cool.
you know,
So, Terrell, how you been doing, man?
I'm good. How you, bud?
I've been better, but I'm getting over
I
it.
understand.
I am. It's been a tough couple weeks. Our market, our industry is never ending. It's
Yep.
always constant. Something's
true.
always going on.
That's
You're
true.
either working on something or talking to a guest or doing something, and
Absolutely. 24/7.
it's truly a 24/7, three
It
sixty
really,
five
it really is.
labor of love, right?
It really is.
So
that's the
Terrell comes
part
to
that
us. Hmm?
nobody gets to see is the behind the because like I'm fortunate to see what you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that like the underbelly of what a lot of people don't get to see.
Right.
And it's literally one of those things of like, oh, manage a property, they said it'll be fun, they said.
Yeah, it'll be
But
easy, they said.
you were telling
Yes.
me about you had one you had, I don't know if you talked about it on here, but I know you said you had some issues with some Amazon packages and stuff like right
Mhm.
before we started that was
Right.
like,
Yeah, the guest is mailing Amazon packages. I think it's like 7 packages, and they're not coming all at the same time. And they were wondering if we could just run up to the cabin and put them inside for them. Not
mm,
needless to say, the cabin is like an hour and a half from my house, so probably
yeah,
not. But anyway, we'll
yeah.
do everything we can to help guests out, but sometimes we just can't. So that'd be a good lead in for us, Terrell.
That's true.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself. You still working 9 to 5?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to talk much about that. But we really want to talk tonight about being like somebody in the world in the space of short term rentals that pretty much had a dream one day,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what your dream was and what your dream is, and kind of how
Uh,
you've been accomplishing that.
well, my dream is early retirement through real estate, like everybody comes on these podcasts. But I'm a very slow approach to it. I don't want to over leverage myself, and I'm just taking it slow, easy right now. And my job helps with the banks and all that. They prefer having me have a job and all that. So I don't want to quit my job
Mm-hmm.
and lose my bank's relationships and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm in no rush to quit my job. So, but
Sure.
eventually I will. So
Mm-hmm. So
Honestly,
tell us.
even Grant Cardone, I know he's real big on, when you first start out, never abandon that first hustle,
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
actually think that's smart. A lot of people try to just quit their normal gig and jump both feet into it, and then they end up getting in some trouble.
Mhm. Right.
mhm.
And Terrell has taken a different approach to that. Before we came on the podcast tonight, we were talking a little bit about, his buy box or his, what you're what you're focused on. Tell us a little bit about your property rental that you have right now, your short term rental.
I've got a 2 bedroom, and then I got a 3 bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that over the months of researching, the 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms are the sweet spot. I think it
Mm-hmm.
just there's more occupancy and the properties, and versus the bigger ones, the 4 and 5. But the bigger cabins, they're just extremely expensive, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to get them booked a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times.
Right.
I've noticed.
Sure. We kind of think the sweet spot, is that 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
especially in our market. You've got a lot of honeymooners and a lot of
Yep.
people are getting married,
Yep.
coming up there, young couples and things, and they're just really looking for a place to stay for 2 or 3 days
Yep.
and, come up there and just hang out
Yep.
and love each other and just be there. And so
Absolutely.
you're there to accommodate that pretty much every day for somebody.
Yep.
So many people talk about passive income,
Yeah.
um, and it's like, well, I'm going to buy 3 or 4 rental properties, short-term rentals,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make $500,000 and I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
Tell us the reality of this.
The reality is I don't really believe the term passive income because things break. I just bought a new hot tub, and my hot tub went out, had to get one at the last minute. And then when you have multiple properties, things will break. You need roofs, you need AC units, you need hot tubs. Beds break at 2 a.m. in the morning, like the other night happened to me. Just it's not very passive. If you want passive, hire a property manager not to deal with it. But I self-manage. So
Tell us why you self-manage.
I self-manage because I don't know a lot of good property managers. I know a few, but I like being in control of my properties. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes people think that it's just basically you put it on Airbnb and the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah, no, that's
Kind of made me think of that old saying about there's no such thing as a free dog. It's kind of like there's no such thing as passive income with short-term rentals. It seems like I know, dude, like Berna, when you first started off, because we've been friends for a long time, so I remember when you first started, it was like when you hit that 3, 4, 5, whatever properties. At one point, you had 3 phones. I know for a fact, and they were all like served different purposes, and we're all going off at the same time and stuff, which is, like you said, I think a lot of people don't think about that,
No, truly, I mean, at scale, for you to scale your business, you may end up getting a VA or something at some point. But right now, I mean, you believe like I do, the day-to-day operations of taking care of your guests are priority number one.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what you do to take care of your guests.
Well, I try to keep things very simple. I don't have a lot of checkout rules, and there's a lot of hosts that are just extreme on their rules. I don't have a lot of rules. If they don't wash the dishes, that's fine, no big deal. I'm not going to call them out on them, but I just make sure that they're clean and they're comfortable. I do a lot of research on like beddings, and I have different types of pillows at my cabins. I make sure there's coffee there. That's a big thing now. But I just make sure everything is in order and nothing to prevent future problems. That's basically my job.
Right. So you're very, very proactive.
I'm at my properties weekly.
Oh wow, that's good. A lot of owners don't do that. A lot of investors don't do that.
No.
That's good because then you're putting eyes on your property. You're seeing it
every week,
and you know what's wrong with it. You know if there's something that needs to be fixed.
That's right.
Are you pretty quick to do those things? I mean, is it something that you really believe in? Like you think that if there's an issue, you take care of it.
Yes. I don't put off maintenance issues at all.
Okay.
If it's something major, I don't put it off. So
that's 99% of what I see when I walk properties is just poor maintenance, just things that are not done on any kind of 100%. Schedule. And even me at scale, I can't walk all my properties like I used to. No. When I had 12 or 13 of them, I'd walk them once a month.
Yeah.
Now, I'm getting into that 20, 30 range.
Yeah.
I'm into that point now where I'm just like, I don't have time to walk all of them, and I've got to be able to trust people. So at your size, it's going to be okay for a while, and you can self-manage and that sort of thing. Doesn't mean you're not going to get woke up in the middle of the night, whatever. Right. So, what do you think is the most important part of guest satisfaction? I mean, what do you think gets the good reviews?
I think if you just have a clean property with everything working and just some basic amenities, you don't have to go overboard with amenities, but just keep it plain and simple. And that's what I believe that. And like I said, don't have a lot of checkout rules. I leave the guest alone. I'll check on them. Usually I can tell if they haven't told me in the next 2 or 3 hours, few hours check in, I know there's not a problem, but I'll check on like the next day or something like that. And then, I try not to bug my guests too much.
Sure, because they're on vacation.
They're on vacation. They don't even bother.
You and I know Greg, a friend of mine, and your friend. We were talking about it today. It's kind of like when you go to the restaurant and your waiter's standing there the whole time you're trying to eat and you're trying to have a conversation. Andrew and I go through this all the time when we go do business, and we've seen people eavesdropping. They're right there and they're trying to pay attention to what we're doing. And I feel like it's what a lot of hosts are doing. They're almost it makes them look needy or vulnerable.
Are you enjoying your stay?
Yeah, exactly. It's creepy. It's kind of like the Verbo commercial we've been seeing with Coach Saban in it. It's Daddy's hot tub. It's Daddy's time. It's just funny because so many hosts do that. And when I'm looking for investment properties for my investors and clients, as a real estate agent and as a property manager, I'm always trying to find out, our 3 ROI. In the business world, that means return on investment. But in my world, in my space, I'm looking for something that's reliable, it's a good opportunity, and it's a good investment.
That's right.
So how do you look for properties that are reliable and are good
I
opportunities?
I look first up location. If they're 30, 40 minutes away from the mountains, I probably won't buy it. If
Mhm.
the closer I can get to a tourist attraction is where I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at how old the property is. Does it need a remodel? And I check out my competition too,
Mm-hmm.
see what they're doing.
Okay, so if you're looking for reliability, I mean, you said maintenance a while ago is a super
Mhm.
big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking more for a property that doesn't have those issues up front, or are you okay with buying one and doing some fixer up?
Either or, I'm okay with buying one and putting what I want to do to it. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
I'm
So
good.
it doesn't scare you if you
No,
find one.
no,
If it's in a good location,
Yeah.
it's got the amenities you're
Yeah.
looking for and things, you're okay to spend a little bit
Yeah,
of money
yeah.
to.
If it's half burned down, I'll take it on. I don't care.
Okay. Well, I've got a lot of people that agree with you there. As a matter of fact, there's a building that I was in the other day that it's a complete remodel, and it's a great property. I won't talk about it because I'm not wanting to yet, because it's one of those things that I want to be the man that
Yeah.
does it for these folks. But same deal. Guy just basically went in and gutted the whole building and just rebuilt it out, and it's all luxury.
Mhm.
It's all great. But what he saw was what a lot of people don't see. They don't see the nugget. They don't
Yeah.
see the little gold.
Yeah.
They don't see the gold mine. They just
Yep.
see the problem.
The problem.
But when you're looking at properties, you're looking at them much like I am and like all of the guys around me are. You're looking at the end user.
Yeah.
What is the end user going to get from this property?
Yeah.
Are they going to be close to the Dollywoods? Are they going to be close to the attractions? Are they going to be, close to a grocery store? Or,
Mhm.
If they have an emergency in the middle of the night, how close are they to the hospital? Because ultimately, to me, that's the reliability of the property.
I agree.
Because you can take care of most anything within your budget.
Mhm.
If you find one that's a good price and you know that if I put $10,000 in it, it's going to net my ROI back to me. My income's going to come back to me.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Right.
There's some people out there that are just not there, and there's some people that don't need to be there, honestly. Yep. So when you're looking for your financing, I guess you just go ahead and put that in the process, right?
Yep.
There's so many people that don't factor that in. Is why I love talking to somebody, because they just think it's an opportunity.
Yep.
And I saw this cabin that's $500,000. And it's been on the market for 6 months. Well, there's a reason it's been on the market for 6 months.
I agree.
So what is your feelings about the Smokies? I love the Smokies.
I love the Smokies. I go there weekly, like I said, but I don't. It's not slowing down at all.
Right. Mm-hmm. If somebody was going to invest in this area, why do you think they should invest in the Smokies? Because everybody says our market's saturated and
I've
there's
heard
a lot
that
of
too,
stuff.
But one of the reasons is I get so many new guests who hasn't been in the Smoky Mountains.
Oh wow!
And they bring their kids who've never been to Smoky Mountains. That's one reason I continue to invest in Smoky Mountains.
Right.
I get a lot of new tourists there that haven't been there at all.
Right.
So.
Right.
Sometimes I think that Vernon started his company just to have an excuse to get out into the Smokies every day.
Exactly.
Exactly. But honestly, it's funny because I've ran up there with you quite a few times. Like I've seen a lot of the properties and stuff you work with, but it's funny because you go up there and we see these incredible views, and it's like we get up there and we're like, wow, this is awesome. And then, we go down and we'll hit the Walgreens and just get like a ham sandwich and like a Sprite, and it's funny because it's like, I see the behind the scenes version of you that a lot of people don't get to see or whatever. And it's just like, I'm just like, man, this dude's like living the dream. He just we just went up to a, $2 million cabin or something, and you're sitting there eating a ham sandwich or some Lunchables or something,
Exactly.
But it's so unique though, man. Like I love going up there myself,
I am it's like every time I go to the beach, the ocean just amazes me. It's the same. I've got some properties that are sitting on these great mountain ranges, and man, I just look at them and I'm just blown away by how close we are to them, and how you can look out your back door and sit on your porch, and there's this big, beautiful, gigantic mountain behind you, and you can soak in the hot tub, have a cup of coffee, whatever. That never gets old to me. I don't know. Does it ever get old to you?
No, it don't.
Okay, so
well, I mean, looking at those mountain ranges, dude, people have looked at those mountains for hundreds or thousands or whatever years, and they're kind of timeless, dude. I mean, we can put a bunch of shops and tourist traps and something, but when you're actually looking at that view, it's timeless. Like there's a connection there, and it's just there's nothing like it, but it's totally different, man. And there's just something about like you said earlier, sitting there sipping a good cup of coffee, just sitting on the porch and just enjoying the quiet, man.
Right. So, do you have any questions for him today? I think he's.
I want to know, like, so what got you started in, short-term rentals? Like, was it like something you always wanted to do, or you just accidentally stumbled into? Like, how, I know you kind of basically said, like, I'm just a normal guy, that basically just I work a day job and whatever. But how did you transition or first get started?
Well, I got the idea when I was laid off twice from a job, and then I started going to real estate meetings, and I was put on second shift. And then when I got off second shift, I went to a meeting first time in over a year, and everybody's buying these cabins in the Smokies, which I didn't think it was a thing. But then I did more research, and then my agent, he's like, "Let's go look at a cabin," and I'm like, "Okay." And then he showed me the numbers and all that, and that was pretty much it. So, and I was preparing for like long-term investments, but they didn't make the money a short-term did. And that's pretty much what it did was the money. I'm going to be honest with you. So versus long-term, but yeah, that's what got me going. So
you're an engineer, and we know a lot of engineers. What is the deal with engineers and short-term rentals?
I don't know.
Because I know 3 of them.
I don't know.
I've always wondered because I know 3 people personally that are friends with.
I overanalyze everything, so that's probably why I'm a good property manager.
Right. And I think maybe does it fit your personality a little bit?
Yeah.
The attention to detail, the systems, the processes. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your system and processes. I mean, what you say you go to your properties every week. What are you doing when you're up there?
I really check on make sure my cleaners are doing a good job, which they always do. It's just for my personal satisfaction. But I check like the decks, make sure nothing's popping up. I check the swings, the chairs, fire pit. Mm-hmm. I have to go through, I think, monthly chairs because I keep getting broken or stolen, but that's just part of it.
Sure.
But I just make sure nothing's broken, no windows are busted out, nothing like that. Just very little things. And I change batteries probably monthly in my remotes, smoke detectors. It's overkill, but I try to eliminate annoying questions from guests.
Well, that 2 o'clock in the morning drive up there because of or paying the handyman $125 to do it.
Yeah, that's true. I'd rather go up there and save $125.
Right. I mean, you can always throw those batteries in a drawer and use them for remotes down the road or whatever, or take them to your house and use them until they go bad. Because at your house you can replace them and it's not a big deal.
That's right.
But it's a big deal to somebody that show up. Earlier tonight we had somebody that got to a property, the Wi-Fi wasn't working and the TV wasn't working. Well, my handyman was out there within an hour. The thing is that it was probably some issue. It wasn't anything because the cleaner had checked them before they left. Both things were working. Mm-hmm. We just think it might have been a glitch because of the storms or whatever. So he reset the Wi-Fi, got them back in shape. They're so thankful. Yeah. But even with our best efforts, it's hard because we don't always get it right. Yeah. So as much check-in, as much doing as you can, it makes it so much better. So, when you're talking about going into this business, what was your biggest fear when you got started?
My biggest fear was just dealing with guests on a day-to-day basis because I'm sort of an introvert. Right. And that was my biggest fear, just will they come back? Will I get more guests? And if I get a bad review, I was terrified of a bad review.
Right.
And so. I want a 4-star review about once a year. So
everybody gives you one.
Yeah,
you get that 1-star review because somebody left a crumb in the toaster.
Exactly.
I got my last 4-star review. They gave me a 4-star because the hot tub was too hot. So.
Oh really?
Wow. One of my favorites was Vernon was telling me about. Do you still have your beach properties or did you?
No, not anymore. I don't manage those anymore.
One of my favorites was when you had somebody basically complain because there's you had a beachfront property or something, but they said there's too much sand on the porch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we get that with cabins too.
Yeah,
people complain about insects. They complain about wildlife. Like they pull up and they see a bear. Well, he had a person that had a bear on the front porch. I'm like, that there. You know how many people would pay big money to have a bear walking around on the front porch? I was at one the other day, and one of them got my wife's SUV. I mean, it literally opened the door and was poking around it. We didn't have any food or anything there, but it was just funny. I was up there meeting a client, and I was there with another real estate agent, and we look out and we're like, "Hey, there's a bear out there." Next thing we know, I was like, "Hey, I didn't leave the door open on my car."
Did you?
He's like, I didn't either. But it's funny because people will cry about seeing a bear, and I'm like, dude, there's like bears everywhere up there.
Did you try to do your bear mating call?
No, if somebody wants to go watch those videos, though, I think
They're still floating around
yeah,
somewhere, I
oh, they
think.
are. They're out there. They're on
Yeah.
TikTok. They're out there. But yeah, I think you
I
have one
wonder
of the
how many
best.
people. I wonder how many people watch this and listen to this and are like, "Is that guy?"
Exactly.
You know?
Because you're not the same dude when you're talking in business.
I know I
I've
don't
said
have my
that for years.
overalls on.
Yeah, it's funny whenever you're sitting there talking business, and it's a total different experience. But
You're
what most people don't know
that
is,
dude's actually smart.
yeah, he really is a bright guy. And I always love being around people who get it. And I just think Tyrel gets it. That's what the beauty of watching you do it, and watching you kind of grow through your journey. I feel like you have really just, I think you've mastered this almost.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I've learned a lot.
Are you a guru? I know you're a local celebrity, but are you a guru?
I don't consider myself a guru. No.
Okay, I'm just checking because people call me that all the time. They call me
I
an
know
expert
you.
guru. And I
I
know
know
that.
you touch. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. No,
I was
you
just
go.
going to say he's a local celebrity. I mean, when Tyrel shows up, I'm always looking around like, who's going to go talk to my boy over there today? And because I get it too, but this guy's everywhere in the short-term rental industry, and he's a good guy, and people trust him, and that's why I want to have him on the podcast. But did you have a question?
I know you. You talked. I wanted to circle back around to it. You mentioned in passing. You know, getting good reviews and repeat guests. What do you think is the keys to getting repeat guests as well as just consistent bookings?
Well, my guests tell me they love my cabin. They love the location. That's pretty much a tell, and it's always clean. Those three things is what I get repeat guests for.
Okay, repeat that. Location,
Okay,
cleanliness.
and what's the other one?
I don't know. What was it? I'm sitting here
It
thinking.
was location, cleanliness. I know you talked earlier about the coffee and stuff, but
Yeah, just basic amenities.
They're nice. The cabins
Yeah,
are basically
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
The reason I'm
Yeah.
asking that is because I think some people put all this effort, like putting greens and
Yeah.
hey, can you zip line off the side of the mountain
Saunas.
and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there is a space for that, but you have proven that the basics are what really gets you the repeat guests,
Well,
right?
and that's the reason I still have cable, because I get a lot of older guests who
Mhm.
hate streaming
Mhm.
and they love it for
Mhm.
cable. And I have the ESPN sports package
Right.
for my guests.
Very true. Yeah.
So I they'll watch
Right.
tournaments in March.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Well, when I
What
go
do you
somewhere,
think?
I'm the same way. I want to see my local news or their local news.
What do you think? I always like asking people this question, but what do you think, in your opinion, just from what you've seen, what do most people do that when they do it, they get it wrong? Like from the managing the property side, like what do you see over and over again that you feel like people get wrong?
They have too many rules. They constantly check their cameras. I'm anti-camera. I know that sounds crazy, but if somebody arrives and they bring an extra person, the host calls them. I'm not going to do that. I don't care. I'm like, they're on vacation. It's probably a visitor or a family member just hanging out. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And probably overpricing too. You got to understand pricing. You got to understand where your market is at for pricing purposes. So,
yeah, I know that affordability is a big deal right now. You got inflation. You got a lot of people that can't afford to travel, and if they can come stay at your clean, comfortable place that they like for a reasonable price, there's a good chance they're going to remember you when they got money.
That's right.
In the future. You were in the space in 2020, right? In 2021?
I started late 2020.
Okay.
No, September 2020 is when I started.
Right. And you saw a lot of that good stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where we were all eating steak and potatoes and salads. And we weren't eating Lunchables and ham sandwiches.
No.
So what have you done to keep up with the consistency?
Well, my biggest thing is the demand. I studied my demand of my market. Like I have off months, but like the fall is where I make a lot of money, and then the summer and fall. But you got to play around with your price, like in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put your prices sky high, like when Dollywood shuts down January and February. You got to lower them. You got to understand that people are going to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But you just got to pay attention to
Right.
what's
Do you
going
use a
on.
dynamic pricer?
I do. I use Price
Okay.
Labs.
Oh, Price
Yes.
Labs. That's what I use. That's a good one. I've got a Price Labs guy coming to talk at my event. As a matter of fact,
Good.
he's a good dude. He's really good. He's local too. A lot of people don't know that. But so so you're looking at pricing models. Do you feel like you were asking me earlier about being ranked one of the top, what was it, top 5%?
Top 5%. Yes.
So you feel like do you feel like you get shown that you show up pretty good in the algorithm?
I think I do. I get a lot of inquiries, a lot of questions. People just ask me a question, and it never book, but I get a lot of inquiries, basically. So
Sure. So you're getting a lot of eyes on the
I'm
properties.
getting a lot of eyes on the properties.
Yeah,
yes.
that's good to know. So do you go in and adjust that stuff to kind of kick the algorithm over, or do you just kind of trust the process?
I do adjust a little bit for the algorithm person. I'll change photos and every now and occasionally, but just for the algorithm.
Right.
So
Yeah, I was just curious because I know that being seen in that top percentage of bookings. Do you believe in the 5 hero images when you're doing it? Like, do you have like 5 pictures that really show?
Yep.
Really showcase what are your 5 pictures that you believe?
Hot tub, obviously, and then on mine, I actually have a picture of my walk-in shower. I get a lot of compliments on my shower.
Okay.
And then, of course, with my coffee bar, and then the bedrooms and the outside.
If you've not sold them by that 5th or 6th picture,
No,
you're not selling.
No,
they're moving on.
They're moving on.
I don't care how good your pricing is or whatever. A lot of times, if they're not wowed or happy by then.
The one thing I get a lot of it. Do you have a hot tub and is it working? That's my first photo.
Right.
I know several couples that they use. They book Airbnbs quite a bit, and I know there's several of them that they won't book it if it doesn't have a hot tub. That's like one of the top things they look at.
Yeah.
So
it is. I mean, we kind of consider if you don't have a pool, have a hot tub. If you don't have a view, have an amenity that makes up for it. But really, truly, most people that are coming to the Smokies, unless they're staying in downtown Gatlinburg or downtown Pigeon Forge or somewhere in Sevierville or something, if they don't have a view, they got to have something else, So hot tub is usually number 1 on the list. If an investor comes to me and says, "Would you trade a view in a hot tub for being close to an attraction?" Probably, but even then, I mean, your thoughts on that, I believe, are a lot like mine, right?
Well, yeah, I agree, but also I'm so close to Dollywood, they can see the fireworks from my front porch, and that's one thing I have that nobody else has.
So you got the hot tub and the fireworks.
Fireworks, yes,
and that's a whole other experience.
It's a whole other experience.
And so, do your guests? I mean, could they just come and hang out at your property and never leave?
Yeah,
don't you feel like that?
A lot of them.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I've noticed a lot of like you short-term rental experts talk about building like an experience around the property. Each property is unique. Like I know Vernon, you have one. I think it's like up in La Follette that we went to, and it's like truly a secluded like mountain retreat. There's not any. You can drive 15 minutes down the hill and go get some donuts and stuff, but like it's a truly secluded. So like it'd be perfect if you needed to go out and write some songs or type a novel or just truly unplug. And so I noticed a common thread is, location's good, having the hot tub and the view's good, but also like capturing the experience within that property. And like for me being a branding and marketing guy, I think it's important anything you do to figure out how you're going to sell it, and so whether it's like if I was going to book a property and there's a stream down the road, well, I'm going to be like, oh, well, can I fish there? What fish is there? Is there trout, bass, having fishing, terminal tackle or whatever, like building an experience or something that's unique. I live out in Granger County, and I literally just figured out like probably like a month or 2 ago that there was like a really famous actor that was a young actor that passed away. And he's buried out here. And I'm like, it's like an actual attraction or whatever. And it's like, I know it's kind of random, but, or like Granger County, the Tomato Festival, if somebody was going to book a property out in Granger County, something that locals take for advantage. Like, for instance, what's one of the greatest things when you go to Gatlinburg? As soon as you drive in, it's on the left, right? The
BMW.
Yeah, the BMW.
It's like Instagram.
That's when you officially know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're officially in Gatlinburg when you see the BMW at Parton's, and it's like, little stuff like that, just building. Like if I go to a property, I could book a hotel and get a room and a place to stay, but like going somewhere and having an experience, I think is crucial. Like you said, not just going to Dollywood or the main stuff, but like, and so I've noticed that being such a common thread that it's so crucial, and so it's kind of cool to hear a lot of the experts and people say the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I always go back to that. And I talked about it in my last, event that I was asked to speak at was, I begin with the end in mind. And you know this, Andrew, because you hear me preach it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I preach it all the time. Without guests, we're nothing. I don't care if you've got the best property close to the amenities, close to all the local attractions. I don't care if you've got a $10 million property that you're renting out $100 a night. If you don't have a guest experience that's built in and have
Mm-hmm.
good guest satisfaction, it doesn't matter. You can buy a property that's, lights on fire at night and, you set off fireworks every night.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't really appeal to the people that you're trying to appeal to, it's not going to be a good investment. And so many people will look at just the numbers. And what's funny here lately, I've been walking into a lot of properties, and I don't know if you've experienced this with searching for properties or not. Some of them I walk into, and you can tell it's like I'm stepping back into 2005. And it's like they basically rented it out. They've not done anything to it.
Yeah, that's
the
rough.
couch is all broken down in the middle. And you go, what's funny is if someone calls me and says, "Hey, go look at my property. It's a great property. I'm just struggling with some revenue issues." And I'll walk it and I'll walk in it and I'll be like, seriously?
I agree.
This thing looks absolutely nothing like your pictures. Yeah. So accuracy is super important on Airbnb.
That's very true.
Check-in is important. I get there and the lock don't work half the time. And I've got to call them and get a key to get in because the battery's dead or something, or the door's jammed or something. And you just continually, when you walk into some of these, you're kind of like, do you really care about the end user? Or is this just an experience for you to make some money?
Yeah. Now we're getting into the rule of 5.
Exactly. Yeah. The rule of 5 book that I have on eBay. So what's funny about that is, it's almost like I step back in time. It's cool if that's your experience for people, but it's hard for me when I get an investor that calls me, and I get people all the time say, "Well, I'm going to fire my manager." First thing I ask them is, "Who's your manager?" Because I know about 50 of them up there. Right. And I'm like, "Oh, this person's a good guy. I know this guy." And I won't mention any names, but there's occasionally I'll be like, "Yeah, you're right. You probably need to be worried." And then even me, in my business, I miss things. I have issues with stuff, and we just have to fix it. I think it's more important how you fix it than it went. If something went wrong, it's how you fix it, how fast you fix it,
how fast
take care
you fix it. I agree.
And so, when I'm looking at some of these properties right now, it sounds to me like if somebody wanted to buy one of yours, they're going to have something that's been well maintained and well taken care of. And that's super important. But again, I feel like so many people miss it when it comes to guest experience. So what would you classify your guest as that stays at your property? What kind of guests are traditionally what you're trying to market?
I get a lot of older guests, and it's like half and half. Old guests, and then a family or couples with no kids. They want to get away from their kids for a week, and they go to my cabin. So
okay.
I get very few like families, but a lot of like couples who just want to get away from their kids.
And you kind of just continue to stay in that.
Yes.
You kind of stay in that lane. And it seems to be working out for you.
It's a niche, classic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all want to get away from our kids every once in a while. My kids are all older, and I still want to get away from them occasionally. That's why my wife and I go on so many vacations. Not that we don't love them, we just want to get away from them. And even my dogs, I want to get away from them occasionally.
Like you said, I know you've talked about like guest avatars and whatever, but it sounds like you've got your target market, your client figured out. Like who you're trying to get and who you're going after, man. Like that's I feel like that's key. If you have a property that's at the bottom of a snow slope or something for snowboarding, you're probably not going to want to reach out to older guests or whatever. So like I said, that's basic branding and marketing right there. So
that's what I love about this guy. He understands his market. He understands what's required. That's why I wanted to have Tyrel on, because whenever I sit and talk to him, he just talks with logic, and he just talks with like reality. He's not trying to sell you on some fancy schmancy whatever. He just has a good system and process in place.
I mean, he's like the poster child of KISS, like keep it
Yeah.
simple, stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly.
and I know like with your business, Vernon, I mean, there's a lot of things that you do that's just straight up old school, like old fashioned. There's times where you throw in some guerrilla marketing or,
Mhm.
word of mouth, like there's sometimes, it's a tried and true for a reason,
Exactly. And when you're really truly invested in it, I think that's the key to this whole thing is you're truly invested in the process.
Yes.
And it's got your name on it. We were talking about that earlier.
Right.
People don't understand the value of your name.
I agree.
Because when I'm booking with Tyrel, I'm talking to Tyrel. When I'm booking even with my brand, Staycating, I'm not always talking to me.
That's true.
I might be talking to a VA or a hospitality expert or somebody on my team, a VA at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
I don't speak 12 or 13 different languages.
Yep.
You don't have to. You pretty much know your buyer.
Yep.
Where I've got properties all over the place,
Yep.
I may have a different type of renter. So if I handed you, let's say, $500,000 today, where are you buying?
I would look for a honeymoon cabin close to the parkway. And a lot of my guests tell me, we love your property because you don't have crazy mountain roads. And that's another thing you got to look out for. Because if you get them too steep, guests won't go up there. So
yeah, that's funny. It's kind of like at the beach, the water's wet, the sand's sandy.
Yep.
In the mountains are mountainy.
Yep.
They really are. And you'd be surprised how many people come from like Florida or somewhere where it's kind of a little more flat.
Yep.
And they're scared to drive up a road.
Oh, absolutely.
And you add rain like we have right now, or you
terrible.
add snow to it.
It's terrible right
now. And it changes the whole dynamic of it.
Well, and I know like in your book, The Rule of Five, you talk about if you have properties like that, it's crucial to make sure you communicate that before the guest arrives, because otherwise you're going to put them in, they need to know if there's, not a gas station within 20 miles of the property or, it's uphill or whatever,
It's uphill both ways,
Yeah.
It's like the way I walked to school back in the day. So, barefoot. But, it truly is a great experience when you come to the Smokies. And, when we're looking at the taxes and that sort of thing, I mean, it's a great place to live too. But, when we're looking at the Smoky Mountains, and just kind of thinking about what do you think's next up there? I mean, I know there's a lot of building and growth going on. I mean, what's next, do you think?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of new construction going on right there, but I don't know what the next touristy thing go up there. I know there's a new theme park up there, and I'm sure Dollywood's going to expand soon. I'm sure Gatlinburg is going to have an expansion for it.
Exit 407 on the way in is about to get a lot too. I think they're doing like some kind of sports betting thing, and I think they're doing like a Ark Encounter or something over there. I know there's a lot. I know that's kind of going into it or whatever. But
well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I have a property right off of 407, little 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a hot tub on a creek, and that thing rents really well, and it's pretty reasonable because of where it's at. But how many people, you would think about proximity. You would think sometimes people would think it, but you know what most people like about that property? It's really close to Buc-ee's, the new Buc-ee's.
Oh, yeah.
Currently,
that in and of itself.
Texas is getting ready to take that back from us, but it is one of the biggest ones. There's also a Bass Pro Shop nearby. There's a lot of cool things right there. So I think you're right. If I had to guess, I would say exit 407 right through there. That what they call the gateway to the Smokies right there. I think that's one of the new areas that's going to really grow. A lot of people are talking about Cosby being the next thing, kind of growing a little bit, because I think at some point it has to expand out. And so there may be somebody that decides that it's okay to drive 30 minutes to something because I don't want to be in the hustle and bustle. Yeah. So, again, if you were looking right now at another area, where would you buy besides the Smokies?
I've heard Blue Ridge, Georgia's pretty well.
Okay.
I don't know much about it yet, but I've heard that's a really good area to look into.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we've been looking at around us here, we've got a lot of riding trails around here.
Yep.
We got Windrock.
And
we got the other one. I should know the name of it because I got a property up there very close to it. But they're both very, what do they call them? Side by side friendly.
Yes.
And they go up there. People take their 4-wheel drives up there and their side by sides and they ride them. We got a new water trail here in Knoxville that's coming. That's got, I guess they call it a water, some sort of experience. I guess they got one over in North Carolina,
Mhm.
but you can literally get in a kayak and float like however many
Okay.
miles.
Okay.
So I'm looking into that right now. And so, a lot of people want a beach property. A lot of
Yeah.
people want other
Yeah.
options. But when I'm looking for, some sort of investment outside of the Smokies, I'm going to look for the same things. But where I'm going with this is just, you know, if you have the opportunity, you've got to look at the Airbnb review process.
Mm-hmm.
Is it accessible? Is it easy to check in? Is it clean? Is it comfortable? Did you communicate well? So if you buy something and you don't have that, you really don't have anything.
Yep.
And so when we're growing together and growing as a community here, and as we're learning together with the ROI process and the reliable opportunity investment process, if you're looking at the bigger picture, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mean, portfolio wise.
My goal is to buy one property a year.
Okay.
Wow.
What's your plan for that? Do you have something in place for that? I know you get the financing, but
Well, I'm actually flipping houses right now
Okay.
to fund it.
right.
So,
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about flipping, because that's
this,
something a lot of people always want to know about. as
yeah,
well.
this is my first one. So I'm actually just funding the deal. My business partner doing all the work, and we're just going to split it or go in together on a cabin. That's
Mhm.
what the goal is. But I've never done a flip, but it's a learning
Mhm.
experience. He did
Right.
all the hard work and all that. I just pay for it.
Sure. Are you doing that with hard money lending, or are you doing that with
Line
bank
of
money?
credit. Line of credit.
Okay. You got a line of credit.
Mhm.
Okay. How's that working out?
It looks great. I just
Really?
write a check. It's great.
Okay, that's good. Because I know there's a lot of people that want to get into investing and they don't realize how many different opportunities there
Yeah,
are
there
out
is.
there.
Yes.
There's hard money lending. There's
Mhm.
some people that'll do seller financing, all kinds of things. So this one here, you're just basically going to your bank, open up a line of credit,
Yep.
and writing checks.
Yep.
And then, how do you expect to get that back? I mean, are you going to see a return on this
We're
investment?
going to set once we sell the house. I'll pay the line back, and
Okay.
then we'll use the rest to buy a cabin.
Okay. So basically, what you're doing. So if you don't mind me asking, I mean, what do you got in it? I mean,
We
what do you
paid-
what do you
we-
got in it? What are you looking to make?
We paid $55 for it, and we got about $100 into it. Hopefully, we sell it for $250.
Okay, that's a pretty good return
Mhm.
on your investment.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially when the other guy's doing the work.
That's right.
And so you didn't just get there overnight, though, right? I mean, you
No.
literally have had to work to get your credit line.
Well,
or is
my
it-
bank used the
Uh-huh.
equity in my cabin as
okay.
as collateral.
So you're leveraging.
I'm leveraging just a little
Okay.
bit, yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to refinance because they got that low interest rate, but
Mhm.
they just used it on the equity. They had it appraised based on appraisal value.
So they basically gave you,
Yeah.
loaned you money on the
Yes.
asset that you
I
already
mean,
had.
I've got $300K of equity in the
Right,
cabin,
right.
so that's one reason.
Are your assets appreciating at this point?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you bought them at the right time?
I bought them at the right time, yes.
Okay, because I know there's a lot of people that got hurt in 21, 22.
Yes, I see a lot of for sales right now, and
Mhm.
foreclosures right now going
Mhm.
on up in the Smokies right now.
I get 10, 12 calls a week.
I
people
see
that are
10,
upside
12
down.
listens a week.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, you can list them all day long.
They're not
But
going to sell.
I mean, I had one, $1.5 million when I had listed forever. And I mean, I knew what she needed out of it. And we came real close one time. But I mean, it's just some people just are not going to they're not going to get their money.
No.
And it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of
It
people.
is.
I mean, when you were in that area there, there's a lot of people who was writing checks and just, raising their hand like an auction.
Yeah.
Because you can take a contract to an owner, and by noon that day, you were on the bottom of the pile again. You had to start back. You had to offer again, and
Yeah.
You had a lot of order takers in the
Yeah.
in the business at the time. You had a lot
Yeah.
of real estate agents that are no longer in the business because they just
Right.
it was easy. The phone was ringing off the hook.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you see that to be something that's going to affect us? I think. Do you think there's a good investment there for other people, or do you think that's just something that I don't think we should profit off other people's misery, but
No.
I think there's opportunities going to be there for people.
I think if you buy right,
Mhm.
I
Right.
preach that. You just got to buy right.
Sure.
Numbers got to work.
And so when you do it, I know Ashley, our friend, both says buy it more as a long term
Mhm.
and get the long term numbers, and
Mhm.
then you can make it happen.
Mhm.
I look at a pro forma, and I'm normally telling people, I show them the numbers. Like there was a common friend of ours sent me property that they're buying and they're flipping and whatever, and I've shown them the numbers on it, and I don't see them. But if they do all the work they're going to do, I think it'll be there. But it's so hard sometimes when you got somebody that comes to you and they see this $1 million cabin they want to buy, and it's been hitting 70 and 80,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, is this a second home? No, it's an investment. But this property manager told me this thing will do $250,000 a
I
year.
agree.
I saw one today online that some person had listed. It's like 4 times the amount that it should be.
Oof,
And I'm like, who's giving these people these crazy numbers? I mean, I know who it is because they want the management deal.
Yeah.
But, somebody's left holding the bill at some point.
I agree.
And a lot of times the property management guy gets yelled at because it's not producing.
Yeah.
And then even with our best efforts, we still miss it. And, we're not, we can't predict the future. No one can predict when the market goes down. No one can predict when things go bad.
Yeah.
So, I just sometimes look around and I'm just sort of like, I think there's a lot of people that just didn't do it the way you've done it.
Right.
And so when you're sitting down, penciling it in, do you take in consideration like all of the stuff? Like, do you sit down and work in the electric bill, the gas bill? Do you go that far?
I don't go that far, but I'm big on maintenance and reserves.
Okay.
I tell people you got to have a lot of reserves for this kind of business because, when you have 2 hot tubs go out at the same time, you got to have reserves.
Sure.
Roofs, and a lot of people don't know, but you have to stain cabins every 4 to 5 years.
Uh-huh.
That's very expensive.
Right.
I think mine is like almost $10,000 every 5 years. You got to
Sure.
account for that.
Right.
So
you're looking more at the big items.
I'm looking at more big, but utilities. My utilities are a couple $100 a month. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I look at the big stuff.
Okay, so you're not nickel and diming it. You
No,
don't care that you're changing batteries out once a month. You're not
No.
caring that you're spending $40 at Lowe's.
No.
That doesn't bother you.
That don't bother me at all.
So you're not really taking income from these though, are you?
Yes,
Are you a person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because but that affects your bottom line.
Yeah.
That affects your income.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you got an appreciating asset,
Mhm.
and ideally, on paper,
Oh, yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And so that's the trade-off I'm assuming for you.
Mhm.
Okay.
I got kind of a question.
Yeah.
I was just gonna finish your thought. I was gonna say I have kind of a question for both of you when
Go
you
ahead.
finish your thought.
No, I've got it.
My question is to people that's listening this, and like I said, it's a 2-part question for both of you. But the first part is, do you think that anybody, aka the average person, can do this, get involved in the short-term rentals and what you guys do? Do you think that like any average person can get involved and get into this business?
You take it first.
I think so. I started with nothing. I really think if you know the market you want to get into, but I see a lot of people, they start Airbnbs like in the middle of nowhere and they don't do anything. And that's, you just got to do some homework, do some research, but I really believe anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think people can self-manage. I think people can do just about anything they put their mind to. They got to have the right people around them. I always say boots on the ground is the most important. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
You said, I check my cleaners, but my cleaners do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've set an expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're living in California and you're trying to manage your property here, you've got to have people you can trust.
Yes.
And if you don't have people you can trust, then
Yes.
there's issues.
That's true.
And, I go through this sometimes with owners because, you can clean a property very early on or you can clean it closer to the stay.
Yeah.
And I've got owners on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Owners, someone that want it cleaned the day of the checkout, and I got some that want it cleaned the day of the next check-in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of in a spot because, my systems and processes more tend to say, hey, let's do it closer to the stay.
Right.
Because once it sits a little while and it gets dirty, gets messy.
Yeah,
so I think anybody can do it, but you just have to know what your non-negotiables are. You got to know, and it's better for me. I've got to communicate that too. As a property manager, I've got to tell people this is the process. If you don't like it, maybe we're not the people for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do want us to do it the other way, then know that my cleaner's got to go back out there to do that touch-up clean the day of, because I'd refuse to let a guest go into a property that looks dirty or dusty, and it happens. I mean, cobwebs happen or whatever. So yeah, Andrew, I think anybody can do it. That's the answer.
Now, the second part to that, then this is going to be interesting because you guys are on different spectrums, but the second part is, so if anybody can get involved today, right now, if I'm an average person, where should I start? Versus whether it's managing properties, investing in properties. If I'm an average person today on the street and I'm listening to this and I hear 2 guys say, hey, anybody can do it, where should I start?
I would look up your local real estate meetings, go to meetups and start talking to people right away.
Right.
and start listening to podcasts and just start looking at real estate listings and just rough numbers basically, and just go from there.
Right. I think it's kind of like stock market. It's easier when it's not real money, and you just sit down and you kind of start figuring it out a little bit like that. I had an investor came to me about a month ago and is like, "Hey, I want to buy a property in a year." I said, "Well, let me tell you what I would do then. You need to call me and get a pro forma on the one that you think you would buy if you had the money right now." I said, "Let's get that first." And I said, "Then let's watch it." I said, "I want you to go look at the calendar. I want to tell all my little proprietary secrets that I tell my clients." But I told him, I said, "No, you go watch it. And what will happen is you're going to see if that was a good investment or not." So ideally, the way I look at it is if you're starting right now, I think you should have already done, like you said, I think you should have done 3 to 6 months of homework and your due diligence. Because I feel like that's where most people, it's kind of like everything else. It's like we drove to the Smokies and we love it, and they get all in their fields, and it's like, hey, let's call a real estate agent. And so they spend Sunday afternoon, instead of driving home, they spend Sunday afternoon letting a real estate agent drive them all over the mountain up there. Well, that real estate agent's number one job is what? To sell me a property.
Yep.
Sell me what I want. And a lot of that's done on emotions and not done on, logic. And I think that's where so many people got burned during 2000, 2021, 22, when things were just going crazy and people are sliding these performances across the table. Oh yeah, that thing will do $250,000 a year. And now it's doing 90. And they're like, what happened? Well, what happened is no one could predict the future, but they bought too high. They spent so much money on it that they don't have any reserves, like you say. They don't have money to build, put a roof on it if the roof blows off. They don't have the money to replace an HVAC. So now they're going and they're borrowing even more money.
Yeah.
And they're continually spiraling down, and their ROI is just going down the cracker.
Yep.
I want to ask Tyrel a question too, and it's kind of become a common theme question that we keep asking, but I feel like you get some really good feedback. But what's the one thing? What's been your biggest goof up or mess up so far that in your mind you did that? I know we asked Charles the same question, but what's been your biggest mistake so far that you're like, yeah, I should probably not do that again?
Probably my biggest mistake when I was starting off, I was priced too high like everybody else. And then I didn't think things through on certain things, and things broke just from my mindset. So, but yeah, that's pretty much, I was too high in the very beginning. So
you're overpriced.
Overpriced.
You think that was probably your biggest mistake?
Yeah, that's probably my biggest mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
So you felt like you were going to make more money because you were priced so high.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's better just to be priced solid and get. So are you big on occupancy numbers then? Are you big on are you more on, because you can have both?
You can have both, but I'm not going. I don't stress that if my property's vacant. So, but something I've learned is people think they can get $500 a night, but really you're getting $200 a night. They gotta understand that too.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so Tyrel, I have a question for you.
Yeah. When
you're out there and you're traveling around, you're talking about going to these investment groups, being part of these communities, being part of these masterminds and things. What should somebody be doing when they're walking around, when they're actually trying to learn this business? I mean, what are the questions they need to be asking people?
I would ask. First thing is, I would talk to a bank or a banker who, if it's somebody at the meetup, can I get a loan first? That's the main thing.
Right.
You can talk about it all day long, but if you can't get a loan,
right,
then what's the point?
Is it hard right now? I mean, the market.
Well, interest rates are making it hard, but there's still good deals out there, I think. But just go ahead and buy the property, just refinance later on. So,
okay, so you're one of those.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get it.
Yeah.
And then worry about the market.
Worry about it later. Yeah.
All right, so you kind of follow that appreciation model. That's basically, hey, I can always get a better deal.
But I don't want to buy too high either.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if you're going out right now and you just, walked out the door right now and you're going to a meeting, like I said, you're going to find that banker person. Then what would you be asking? Who's the next person you're looking at that meeting?
I would find a real estate agent that knows your market you want to get into, an expert in that market.
Right. Okay. And I think a lot of people try to go around that too, don't they?
Yeah.
They're trying to buy from some wholesaler.
Oh, yeah.
They get burned on those. I see wholesale deals sometimes that are higher than MLS prices.
I get them weekly. So
yeah. And so it's kind of, I think the biggest thing for me is the due diligence.
Mhm.
I think you've got to spend the time, and because it's a big undertaking.
It is.
I mean, you may be mortgaging your house to pay
That's
for it
right.
at some point.
That's
there may
right.
be some other things that
That's right.
you got to do. Your kids may not get to go to college because you made a bad investment.
Right.
And so, for me, when I'm traveling in these circles, I'm always trying to find people that are number one experts. They just got more knowledge than me. I don't want to be the
Mhm.
smartest guy in the room. I want to go into
I
a
really-
meeting to where I can get the information that I need, even in my business. From a management standpoint, I'm always trying to find a guy who's, now I'm talking to people that have 100 properties.
Mhm.
I'm talking to people that have 200 properties.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did you do to get to here? And I think sometimes our big fear, or maybe it's our ego or something gets in the way.
Mhm.
We're either afraid to ask or we're
Yeah.
too proud to ask or
Right.
something. But
Right.
don't you find that most people in the community will really help
Yeah,
you if you
absolutely.
ask?
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes super important. Were you going to say something, Drew?
My last question was just, I know we kind of asked Charles the same thing last week too, but like, what is like your purpose behind, I know Charles talked about one of the things that keeps him grounded is giving back to his community, staying connected to, the community where he made his first investment in. And, he wants to be like successful, but not like drive a Range Rover and that. Like, what do you think is sort of like your purpose and your keys to like not just being successful, but also actually living a life that, is fulfilling to you, not just making money?
I think it's about freedom. I want freedom
Mhm.
eventually, and I don't want to work till 65. Like, and I just want my freedom. I want to enjoy my youth now,
Right.
before I get too old.
So you can work in your community. You can do more things that
That's
you
right.
normally wouldn't be able to do.
That's right.
I think that's super important, man. I wish I had thought that way when I was a lot younger, because I feel like there's so many people out there, they're not looking at it that way.
Mhm.
They're looking at it, for a paycheck,
Yep.
and they're not looking at it as in, hey, if I'm truly building wealth, I'm truly building a strategy that's going to create a lifestyle for not just for me, but just generational wealth at some point. Maybe if you have kids or whatever, or maybe you want to donate it to a charity or something. That freedom that comes with that, and that smile on your face when you can wake up in the morning and know at some point I'm going to be able to make my own decisions.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to give to whatever I'm going to give to. I'm going to be the guy in the community that can kind of do what I want to, when I want to, how I want to. And that's hard for some people to get a hold of it, because they are so into that mindset of, I got to clock in, I got to have my lunch at noon, get the lunch bell, whatever. They're just in that mindset. And, I think that's how I'd like to close this today is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong. If I wasn't doing what I do, I'd go back and get a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I could go right now and work for a lot of companies
Yeah.
and have a 9 to 5
Yeah.
and be very happy and be very successful and
Right.
make 6 figures plus.
Right.
But the thing about it is sometimes that freedom that goes along with it,
Mhm.
that opportunity for you to just be able to say to yourself, man, I've done something good. I've done something important. And, if you had any parting words today to say to anybody, because we're coming up on a little warning here, what would you say to somebody today? Just what's your why? What's beyond freedom?
It's a good question.
Mhm.
My why is I just want to be able to do the things I want to do eventually. I want to go cross country one day.
Right.
Follow bands around. That's what I want.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
want to do stuff like that.
Right.
I want to travel.
Sure.
Stuff like that.
Well, guys, we're coming up to the end of the podcast here. We really appreciate you guys listening today. It seems like what we've truly covered today was, this is something that people can do. You can do this. I believe with all of my heart that you can do this. But I think you've got to have a plan. And I think Tyrel has shown us today that, you just got to know what your goal is. Do you want freedom? Do you want more time? Do you want more money? What is that? Do you want to give back to your community? With this being said, I think so many people are just, it's like paralysis by analysis. They spend so much energy, so much time trying to figure too much out, and then they'll bite the bullet. So I think there's a balance there. So maybe we didn't cover that part tonight, but Tyrel and I were talking earlier tonight, and, being able to leave that 9 to 5 and get that freedom, you got to start somewhere. So guys, I'm telling you tonight, start somewhere. Get out there and get going. This is the ROI podcast. My name is Vernon Corum. This is Tyrel Holman, and that's Drew Fincham. Guys, we really love and appreciate you. Love everybody, and leave a legacy.